My name is Laurel, and I got involved because I am Luke's sister-in-law. I've made a number of prosthetics in the past, mostly ears and zombie wounds, and so Luke asked me if I'd be interested in helping out with making tails and horns and wings, and so I thought it might be fun and a new challenge, so I said I'd help out. So the challenging part is just figuring out what would work well to make the tails and wings and kind of use pieces that already exist. I'm using a bicycle chain as basically the skeleton of the tail. With the tail, it moves like this, and so you just need a joint that only moves one way, back and forth. Well, actually, my inspiration for using bicycle chain was from an episode of the Mythbusters where one of the guys had built a mechanical hand and he used a bicycle chain for the fingers. And so I thought, wow, that stuck out to me because it was an ingenious idea because it has the joint that only flexes one way. And so that just sort of lodged in the back of my mind. And I think it's just, if someone's trying to get into thinking about how to make things like this, you kind of have to think outside of the box and just think about how materials work. If you have friends who are in theater or do cosplay, there's probably someone who has some experience. Maybe it's just doing makeup effects, but there might be people like that in those circles. It would just be a matter of finding someone in that circle or someone who knows someone in that circle. Also, there's so much information online. You can sort of see what other people have done and kind of take the principle like, oh, you can bend PVC by heating it up, and then think about how that could be used in your application. A lot of it too is just getting your hands on materials and seeing what they're able to do and just trying out different things. I have been using a material called dragon skin. You can use to make zombie wounds. You can basically make anything that looks like skin. You have to be comfortable trying out a little bit of mold making. The most simple kind of mold is a one-part mold where you basically sculpt something on a flat surface and then make a box around it, and then you just pour your mold material into that box. And then once that mold material has set up, you pull it out and you have a negative of whatever you sculpted on that flat material. And then you can pour into that negative whatever you want to be the final product. So like dragon skin material, and then you pull that material out and you have your finished piece. So that's the most simple form of mold, is a one-part mold. And so to get started or get more comfortable with mold making, you can just do lots and lots of one-part molds. I mean, that would get you started. For example, someone says, make a tail. Well, there's a lot of questions about that tail, like, what is the texture? What is the length? What is the width? What is, how do you want it to hang off of the body and things like that? So that's the kind of input that you need. And some of that just comes up naturally as you're making it, because as you start to make it, you realize, oh, well, I need to know how long this is, and I need to know what the circumference is, and I need to know what the texture is, because you need to know these things in order to make it. And so that's the kind of input. And it also helps if you put something together for the director or whomever to look at and then say, oh, well, this is good, but this needs to change. So that's kind of why I like to do prototypes, just to say, here's the thing, and how can we change this to make it more like what it's supposed to be. The next challenge would be the wings. The horns will be pretty straightforward. I think it's mostly just sculpting and adding it to a headband under a wig, from what I understand. But the wings, there's lots of different ways wings can be shaped, and there's lots of different ways wings could come off of the body, depending on where you want it on the spine. So I think the key would be figuring out how to build that, and maybe the fastest way to build that. way to build that doesn't like injure people if they sit down. That'll be the next challenge. Haven't gotten there yet. I'm still thinking about tails.